Hello, everyone. Welcome to Science Friday Trivia Night. It is so nice to see you all, or see your chats in the chat, because that is the only way that I can see you. Welcome again. My name is Diana. I am your trivia host for tonight and Science Friday's Outreach Manager Extraordinaire. Tonight, we are playing a very special edition of Science Friday Trivia. It is so nice to see all of the new and the old, I guess, the seasoned faces of Science Friday Trivia. So I see we have people here from Oklahoma, from Florida, from Pennsylvania, New York. We've got some people from Ithaca, New York, and Valhalla, New York, Denver, Colorado, Detroit, Chicago, with some great birds, by the way. If you haven't put where you are from and what is your all-time favorite bird in the chat, now is the time to do it, because tonight's trivia is all things birds. We have some very special guests who I will introduce after we go through the rules. Yay! So for anyone who has not been here before or is a little rusty after the month that we have taken off from weekly trivia, welcome to Science Friday Trivia. So essentially, we are all going to be playing trivia tonight. All of the questions have something to do with science topics, but really we're focusing on birds for this evening. So like I said, if you haven't joined us before, here is what you need to know. How is this going to work? We're going to play 3 rounds of trivia. We have 5 questions in each round, and we're going to play in about 60 minutes. It's probably going to take a little bit longer because I'm always extremely excited when I have people to talk to in the room with me. And so it usually takes a little bit longer for us to play. So I hope you'll stick around. Soon, I am going to be putting the forms for you to answer the trivia questions in the chat. So we're not playing trivia where you put the answers in the chat for everyone to see. Instead, we are playing trivia in teams. So either you are playing by yourself or you're playing with people physically in your space, or maybe you're sharing this live stream with a Zoom room or another way that you can, FaceTiming with your friends and family, whatever it is. You can play in a team and you're going to use a form to actually submit your answers. Here's the thing. I have told the form the right answers, but I cannot anticipate all of the ways that you will write things. And so do me a favor, keep your answer simple. That means don't put exclamation points at the end of things, no matter how excited you are that you know the answer. Try your best to spell. Spelling doesn't count. It just means that I don't have to change a wrong to a right if you spell it right. But spelling technically doesn't count unless I say it does, which it almost never does. So just keep your answers simple. That is, I usually also don't use articles. So the, a at the beginning, usually don't need them. Rounds are quick. We're going to go through the questions pretty quickly, but don't worry, we list the questions at the end of each round. So if you need to see a question again, you will see it at the end. If you want to chat, the best way to do that is on YouTube. But if you're on our website, you can just scroll down a little bit and the chat is below the live stream. And the live stream is a little bit delayed. So wait for us. We will see your questions and your concerns and anything else you put in the chat. But we might not see it for a bit, about a minute or so. So hold on for us and we will see your questions. But if you have any questions at any time, you can put them in the chat. That is basically what it's there for, and for me to essentially know that you're here hanging out and playing along. All right. What should you do? What should you do now? So I'm going to put the answer forms in the chat now. What you should do is you should assign a captain. The captain should open all of the answer forms. I will put them again at the beginning of the rounds. I will post them again in the chat. And so if you lose them, or if you're like, I only need one open, just in case something happens, that's also fine, but it's easier if you open them all now. You should decide on a team name if you have not already. I saw a lot of very good team names in the chat. So, be inspired and come up with your own team name. Maybe it's bird themed. You don't get any special points for having a great bird themed trivia name, but I will laugh, and so will my guests. So go for it. And the last thing, Captain, you should do is add the same team name to all the forms. Again, my form is very smart, but it cannot understand if you spell your team name 2 different ways on different forms. So just write it and then copy paste into all the forms. And again, any questions, just let me know. I'm seeing a lot of really good birds in the chat, by the way. There's a lot of turkeys. I agree that turkeys are pretty cool. They're also, I think, kind of mean. I'm gonna ask my experts about this. They know a little bit more about birds than I do, so we'll see. what are the rules? There's really only 2 rules. Don't look up the answers online and have a good time. What does having a good time mean? It means being supportive and respectful in the chat, like friendly greetings, not putting answers in the chat. And if you notice something cool or you have something fun to say, go ahead. You guys, I see you guys having conversations in the chat all the time. It's very fun to watch, even if I can't always talk because I am saying trivia questions. And try your best and give feedback. So if there's something we can do to make trivia more safe, more fun, generally a better experience, let us know. I send emails to people who are on the email list, which if you'd like to sign up for, it is on our website. And here is the best way to sign up for that if you're not already on our list. And yes, Michael, you should be Dejamin Ducks. Usually they are Dejamin Luck. Correct me if I'm wrong. Dejamin Ducks sounds good. I'll know it's you, but yeah, I think you should be Dejamin Ducks. You don't have to you don't have to do that, but I think it's a good idea. What you'll win, you will win the naming of one of my desk plants, but also not just that. I don't actually have a desk plant here for you to name because I didn't grab one because I was excited about the other things. I also will do something special this week, which is that I have these and these. I've got stickers and I've got temporary tattoos from Cephalopod Week last month. And I will send these to you in the mail, as well as some special stuff that only the winners will get to know. So if you want that stuff, plus the naming rights to one of my plants, which I will unveil at the end of Trivia Night, I promise I'll go get one. There's no more left. You named them all. So unfortunately, I have no more left. But this is a great time for me to welcome on my special guests because I could not do an all-bird trivia night without these amazing people. So first up, I want to welcome Juita Martinez. She is getting her Ph.D. right now and is studying pelicans. So we're so excited that you are here. Hello.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me, Diana. I'm so excited. This is going to be so much fun.
Yes, we may or may not have written an entire round all about pelicans for your arrival today. So we are so excited. Can you just quickly just tell us a little bit about what is the best part about studying pelicans?
It is the absolute honor of my entire life to get to have this privilege to walk into a pelican colony. We make it fast though, but to have 10,000 pelicans around you is something that most people don't get to experience.
10,000.
That is our biggest colony. Yes, we have permits. We're not out there. We're doing work, but it is not a lot of people get to say they've done that, and it is pretty cool.
Amazing. Actually, maybe, Juita, if we're lucky, you will volunteer one of your plants for us to name because, oh my gosh, you are living in a...
None of them have names. Yes, we can pick one. None of them have names.
Amazing. All right. Well, we have actually 2 more guests who are joining us together. They are from Bird Names for Birds, which I'm really excited for them to tell you a little bit about. If you know a little bit about their work, they are helping remove eponymous names from the common bird names. And so I'm welcoming Jordan and Gabriel. Hello.
Hi, everyone. This is amazing. We're so honored to be here. And thank you, audience, for joining us and letting us just be total bird brains and talk birds.
Yes. I said we're going to announce the official bird brain of the night for Trivia Night. Actually, that's kind of the crown that they'll be putting on their heads, I think. But tell us, Jordan and Gabriel, tell us a little bit about Bird Names for Birds. How did it come about, and sort of what are you working on right now?
Yeah, so in the spring of 2020, there was a really important incident that really brought social justice issues to the forefront of the bird community, which was when Christian Cooper was out birding in Central Park in New York City, and a white woman had a horrible incident with him. And that incident really sparked all of these really important conversations and things that people have experienced and knew about for years and years, but again, brought it to the forefront of the bird community conversation in mind. And Gabriel and I knew that it was really important to take the phrase, "the work starts at home," seriously, both for ourselves and for the community, which we call our own, the bird one. And we also really wanted to do something. And so we started this initiative called Bird Names for Birds, which is working to change eponymous bird names. What's an eponymous bird name? It's a human name put onto a bird or anything. There are eponymous beetles and, salamanders and things like that, but we're talking about birds. And so an example is Wilson's warbler. And the thing is that all of these birds, all of these eponymous bird names have really concerning pasts, among other things. And so in our attempt to help make the bird community more welcoming and inclusive, we're calling for these names to be removed, and then an inclusive process, a process that brings birders, conservationists, scientists, people from Hollywood or English lit that love birds and books to all come together in some new way and decide what those new names are going to be. And we know that this, I wish it would, but I know this won't fix racism in any way, but it's one brick. It's one thing that we could do right now to make the bird community better and more inclusive, and then continue that path towards even more important, bigger things that do good.
Yes, amazing. And we are really excited that you are here. You both have a lot of knowledge. And not only that, if anyone here wants to be inspired by this evening to actually get involved, I put the link to your website in the chat. And so that is a great place to start. But we're also going to be talking, we also have a round about eponymous names. And so we'll be getting a little bit more into that as we get into our trivia night. So I'm very excited that you are both here. Thank you so much for lending us some of your time and your experience. And what do you say? Are you both ready to get into round one?
I hope the audience puts questions that stump us in the chat.
Ooh.
That's my challenge to them.
I love that. They do that constantly to me. So I'm glad to have friends here who also may get stumped by their questions and comments in the chat as well. So yes, if you have questions at any point, put them in the chat. They could be questions about the trivia questions, but they can also be questions for Juita, Jordan, or Gabriel. So feel free to put them on in. All right. So with that, when do we get started? Might be your last question. Right now. Let's do it. All right. So our first round is called Dinosaur Floofs, aka Pelicans. And as you might expect, I couldn't possibly have Juita here and not have written an entire round about pelicans because they are amazing creatures. I learned so much about the work that you do, first from Ali Ward's Ologies podcast, but also from a lot of the other work that you do. And I follow you on Twitter. And so it's always so amazing to see you out there in the field doing your thing. And so, yes, the sound did work. Thank you so much. I try to do this sound every week, and for some reason by round two, it doesn't work. So we'll see if it works by round two. So we'll see. But let's get started with round one. So, Juita, if you wouldn't mind taking it away.
Okay, will do. So we are so excited to talk about birds today. And the first question is about the scientific name of brown pelicans, which is Pelicanus occidentalis. The first word comes from the Greek pelikes, which translate to what in English? Ooh,
yes,
that's a good one.
Thank you. Some of my favorite ones. I mean, some of my favorite questions are always about like, where does this name come from? A lot of times it's, Latin roots, but also I am half Greek. And so it's really nice because I also feel like I'm slowly maybe working my way towards knowing Greek. I don't know. We'll see if any of this rubs off. But I will say I tried out some of these questions on my partner and I asked him this question and he was like, Pelikis, a small kiss. And I was like,
did I say it wrong? I'm really sorry if I.
No, I actually don't know how to say it. I presented it to him and I was like, is it pelicus? Is it pelikis? And he was like, it means small kiss, right? And I was like, it doesn't. So that is your hint. It doesn't mean small kiss, but it does mean something else. So that is your first question for the round. And we are going to move on to round two. Like I said, we moved through this pretty quick. We're going to show you all the questions at the very end of the round. But question two might be my favorite question. I feel like I'm going to say that a bunch of times because I'm going to remember the question that I helped write. And I'm going to, oh, yeah, this one. But Juita, can you take it away for this one as well?
So pelican pouches are amazing. While they do not store food in the pouches, pelicans do use them to catch food such as fish. And spilling water out of them before they can swallow the fish. They don't have to swallow all that water. But what are these pelican pouches called? I actually have a fun fact. So American white pelicans can actually hold about 3 gallons of water. in this pouch, which is called, we'll find out.
That is amazing. 3 gallons?
3 gallons.
I wonder how much we can hold in our stomach, and if that's even like close.
Ooh.
Actually, that's a lot of water.
I feel like 3 gallons would hurt in my stomach.
Yeah.
Well, it's heavy too, right? Because like they're not in the water. Like that's what I immediately thought of, was that stretch.
Mhm.
It can stretch pretty far. Like, yeah, and it feels really weird.
I believe it.
Want them sometimes to put our transmitters on, so I get to hold them.
Oh, that's fun. Are they like struggling, or have you sedated the bird before you are actually getting actually like holding it?
Yeah, so they're not sedated, but we do try to work like as fast as possible to like minimize stress. So they're just standing there. Like they actually like to be standing. As long as their feet is on like my leg normally, they're actually fairly okay.
Oh, that's great. That's the same for me. I don't like sitting in those chairs where my feet sort of dangle, so I get them. All right, so that is question 2. We are going to move on to question number 3. This is a true or false. The brown pelican is the national bird of 4 nations, all of which are in the Caribbean and West Indies. So is it true or is it false? While you think about that, actually, we have a really great question that Jordan and Gabriel, Heidi has in the chat that I want to pitch to you. What do you think about eponymous non-bird names?
We think pretty much the same thing as we do for bird names. Our focus is just happens to be on birds, but a lot of the other groups that are kind of in charge of naming different groups like mammals or fish or amphibians and reptiles, they're kind of approaching this discussion in a similar way and reevaluating how we've kind of always accepted these names.
I don't know of any mammals lately, but you may have heard the news just a couple weeks ago of a moth and an insect that had a derogatory term removed from its name. Not an eponymous name, but still really good part of the conversation, and really just want to highlight the great steps and leadership that the Entomological Society of America is doing by just removing that name. They don't have a replacement yet because they want to have the community input. They just decided to do that, which is incredible to see.
That's great. So for right now, they're just referring to this as its species name?
Correct. The Latin name. Yep.
That's great. That's amazing.
Yeah. And we are just bird names for birds. You can learn more on our FAQ page, but we do make a really big emphasis on specifying English common names compared to the Latin names. Both are, they're connected but separate. So, and we can clarify that later too.
Awesome. Great. All right. So that was question 3. True or false? Is the brown pelican bird the national bird for 4 nations, all of which are in the Caribbean and West Indies? And then we are going to move on to question 4. All right. My favorite question. Go right ahead, Juita.
So pelicans don't usually make a lot of noise once they've grown up, but they are known for a distinctive call when it's mating season time. So Diana's going to play 3 different calls, and you are going to tell us which one is the sound of the American white pelican.
All right. I'm very excited. I'm glad that the sound was working on the previous slide, so I know it's working on these. So here is sound number 1. All right. That is sound number 1. Here is sound number 2. All right. And last but not least, sound number 3. What I will say about these sounds is that they are all birds. I got all of these from eBird, so they're all birds. I confirmed them with multiple listenings of different birds. These are all birds, and I really like all of them. So
I'm like hoping no one is trying to make an answer based on my facial expression.
No, my poker face will let you down.
I know we have to keep as still. I know this is the hardest part about doing trivia is really just like one time I had a co-host who I didn't remind her that I had made up one of the answers in like a ABCD multiple choice, and she like just went right through it. And so she did a great job, but I didn't prepare her for having to pronounce a completely made up Latin word. So I felt really bad about that, but she did great. So, all right, we're going to play them one more time. And then you all are going to have to tell us which one was a pelican. So I think I'm gonna have to go back a slide real quick. There we go. All the sounds. Okay. So here is sound number 1 again. So listen close. All right, that was sound 1. Here's sound 2. And here's sound number 3. All right, so that was all the sounds. Good luck to everyone playing. I will tell you what they were at the end. Don't worry, we will tell you actually what each of those were. But for now, you're going to have to tell us which one is a white pelican. All right, and we're going to move on to question 5, which is the last of the round. Back to my area of expertise, art history, kind of. I got an art degree in college, so this is as close as it's going to get. All right, so in medieval Europe, they believed that whenever food grew scarce, mother pelicans would intentionally stab themselves on the breast with their beaks and to feed their chicks. Yep, with their blood. Metal. All right, it's a myth, but that didn't stop which English monarch from being painted with a pelican pendant around her neck. So you can just see it here. There's a pelican pendant right there. I do need you to be a little bit specific on this one. So, for instance, if I showed you a portrait of Henry VIII, I do need you to write Henry VIII. You can't just write Henry because there were many of them. So get a little specific there, but do your best. That's all I can say. So yes, which one of these English monarchs was painted, and many others actually were painted with pelican pendants. Juita, do you have any pelican jewelry?
I don't, but one of my really good friends painted me a pelican portrait, like a big one.
That's awesome.
This pelican that was like intentionally stabbing itself is actually on the Louisiana state flag, so it's still around.
No way! Yeah. I did not know that.
Yeah, it's still around. It doesn't have. It is a myth.
Yeah, it is a symbol that persists,
yes.
Though, I guess. Amazing. All right, so we did it. We made it to the end of round 1, and so like all things, we have to finish up. And so here are all of the questions for the round. I'm going to play a minute and a half of music, and you all are going to finalize your forms. So good luck. We'll see you in a minute and a half. All right, so that is the end of round 1, which means we need to go and score. Well, actually, I need to go and score. Our teammates here are gonna watch a video with you, actually. So you'll have some friends to watch a video with. And so while I score, if you have been here before, you know I play one of Science Friday's many videos. We make short videos, often with scientists at the forefront telling their own stories. And so actually the first video I'm going to show you is kind of an old one. It is, I think it's from like 2012 or 2013, and it features a very interesting bird. I'm going to leave it at that. So I will see you all in about 3 minutes once the video is over. Have a good break, and we'll see you in a couple minutes.
I don't think they're here this morning. I don't know if it's too cold, too windy. Don't know. Wish I knew. I was a sage grouse biologist for about 5 years for the state before I took the position I'm in now. So we're in the Sheeprock Mountains of Utah, just under 8,000 feet elevation. This is sagebrush. Sage grouse, they need tens to hundreds of square miles of sagebrush. It's the only thing they eat in the winter are the leaves of the sagebrush. Can't believe they're not here. The lek is an area where they gather each spring where the males strut. I'm a little surprised that they're not out strutting today. Welcome to wildlife. They don't always cooperate for some reason. Within the Division of Wildlife, we have professional photographers, and so our folks will go out every year in hopes of that perfect morning, that perfect opportunity to capture footage of the lek display. The males will have individual territories. They'll defend that pretty aggressively. The males, they have these yellow sacs that are hidden, and then they inflate those so you get a flash of yellow, and they hurry and release the air out of them, and you can hear it really far away. The strutting is kind of to determine who is the most fit, and then the females can select that individual to father the offspring. Greater sage grouse are a candidate species for listing under the Endangered Species Act. In 2006, we saw a high point in this population out here, and it's been declining since then. One of the concerns we have is the lows of those population cycles keep getting lower, and the highs aren't quite as high as they were. A lot of it's trying to reduce the impacts on the landscape. Just kind of fascinating how well adapted they are to sagebrush, but how fragile they are to disturbance to that sagebrush.
All right, so we are all back. Again, one of my favorite videos, it's kind of like just really silly to watch it just kind of happen. Yeah, I don't know. What did you all think of that one?
I can't wait to see one of those birds. I've never seen one, and like that's one of my like birding dreams, I guess you would say, is to like be out at the leks like with all of them and see that in person. It's such a cool sound too.
Yes, I thought that we had maybe just added sound effects to it to make it sound silly, but I was like, oh, I think actually that's the sound it makes. Amazing. All right, well, we're going to watch another video later, but for now, we have to get to the answers of our trivia. So I'm going to put our trivia back up. All right, so Jordan, or I'm sorry, Juita, would you mind taking it away? You read this question. Would you mind just bringing us into it?
Okay, cool. So we asked the scientific name for brown pelicans is Pelicanus occidentalis, and the first word comes from the Greek word pelikes, which may or may not be right. I'm really sorry. Which translates to English in what?
It means axe. Yes. So if you answered anything like double axe, battle axe, axe without the E, you still got it right. So congratulations to everyone who did that. Yes, I think it has to do with the bill shape, but I actually don't know for sure.
That was my guess too.
Yeah. So I don't know what the second word in its name means. What was it again, Juita?
Occidentalis.
Yeah, I couldn't find any definition for that. So that one's still a mystery to me. That is also why I did not write a trivia question about it. Amazing. All right, so we're going to move on to question 2. We asked you what these pouches were called. I didn't make up any of these words. All of these words have something to do with birds or natural environments. Pelagic is one of my favorite words. I just want to say that. I really like saying it, so that was part of the reason why I put it here. However, D, gular patch. Am I saying that right, Juita? Gular pouch?
We normally say gular, but it could.
Ooh.
Yeah, but I'm not actually sure. Like, I'm not.
I like gular better. And it's pretty like stretchy, right? I mean, that's what I've read, and I remember hearing in the podcast that they're basically just like kind of yawning and stretching when they do this with their pouches, right?
Yeah, they are yawning. Yeah, and basically it's just very stretchy skin. That's pretty like thick though.
Cool. I mean, it has to fit a lot of stuff, right? So very cool. All right, so we're gonna move on to question 3. I asked you true or false if the national bird is the brown pelican is a national bird for 4 nations, all of which are in the Caribbean and West Indies. It's true. Yes, there are a couple ways I could have been tricksy about this, but I chose not to because I just think this is a really cool fact. The 4 countries are St. Martin, Barbados, St. Kitts and Nevis, and Turks and Caicos. So those are the 4 nations that have the brown pelican as their national bird, which I think is just really cool. It's really cool to have like this amazing bird that does this amazing diving feature. We're going to talk more about that later, how it dives, but it's just really cool that they have this bird as its national bird, which actually moves me perfectly into the question about the sounds. So we played you 3 bird calls, and we wanted you to tell us which one of them was an actual pelican. I'm looking at the answers again now. Fooled almost no one with the first one, but I will tell you that if you had to say what it was, the first one, which sounded like this. Oh, it was sound 2, by the way. Sorry, I just did that by mistake. But this one, that sound is actually not a seagull, as many of you may have thought, but actually a golden eagle. So I thought that was cool. Just doesn't really sound like an eagle to me, but that's the sound that they make. Sound 2 was the pelican. Sounds like a lot. Juita, is it like a mating call that sound is?
Yeah, because the brown pelicans don't actually, that I studied, don't do that. So it only happens during the mating season.
Yeah, that's what I've heard, is that they're just generally kind of quiet.
The chicks are the only, like for the brown pelicans, the chicks are quite vocal.
Oh, I believe that. Yeah, because they're hungry, they're tired, they got stuff to do. So I get it. All right, so that was question 4. We're going to move right along to our last question, which was about this lovely monarch here. I guess her name is Elizabeth I. And so if you put Elizabeth I in any way, you all had a lot of ways to write that, and some of which I did not anticipate. But if you wrote Elizabeth I in some way or another, you got it right. There were a couple answers that were very close. For instance, Elizabeth II, unfortunately, that is incorrect. There are a few others. Mary, Queen of Scots is a different person. Of course, there are a couple other ones that I was like, is that her? They all have Queen Anne Mary. I was like, oh, is that maybe another name for Queen Elizabeth? It's not. She's a different person. So anyway, and the third sound, I didn't say what the third sound was. I'm so sorry, everyone. The third sound was an Atlantic puffin. It was the one that sounded rah, 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 like it was laughing, and I just thought that was really funny. So that's part of the reason why I included it. So yes, it was a puffin. Again, some of the cutest, one of my favorite birds, I would say. We saw them when we were in Maine recently, and I really like them. All right, so that was the end of round one. So I'm going to show you the top 10. Some of the top 10 are not included because a lot of people got 4 right, and so it's just showing the first couple of the people who got 4. But here are the top scores, and so I'm going to read everyone's score as quickly as humanly possible. So with 1 point so far, we have Team Jaw, Prairie Schooners, Periodic Table Dancers, Rumps, David Rowland, and that is it. You all have 1 point so far. With 2 points, many teams, we've got Your Mom, Wood Ducks, Trivia Swallows. I think that's a funny bird pun, but I'm not sure. Tifted Tutmouse, which I like. I get that bird pun. The Fogitos, the Donaldsons, Skull Valley Cardinals, Shangri-Lark, good one, O-Dog, Magnificent Manatees, Cinder Squid, Bird is the Word, Beasts of Burden, Acid Pitter, I guess that's what that said, Acapitter, and Too Tired to Coo, usually this is Too Tired to Care, very good, and Birds Aren't Real. You all have 2 points, killing it with the bird names, y'all, I love it. We have a bunch tied for 3rd place with 3 points, Winged Words, We Don't Know Jackdaws, good, Trace Cabezas, Toucan, play at that game, the Sweltering Swifts, the Shenanigans, the Douglases, Team of 2, Team Cute Burb, Team Aries, Summer Chickens, Snap, Plovering, Moist Outlets, Leo DeGrant's Must Fly, nice, Herptophiliatic, nice, Fox Kits, and Hydra 9, Buckeye 5, Birdie, Big Lou, Bantering Butterbutts, and Acadian Flycatchers. You all have 3 with 4 points. Many of you, I'm trying to go as fast as I can. Weary Warbler, Toucan Appreciation, the Masked Duck, the Chickadees, Cy Vacay Peeps, Raven Puffles, Prairie Longspurs, Pouch Potatoes, nice, PDX Bluebirds, Nah Burb, Maureen Brooks, Just Me McGee, Grasshopper, Go Bird or Go Home, Flock of Seagulls, Dumbledore's to Jammin' Ducks, Daejeon, Bird Brain, and Ben and Friends. And then at the top, we've got a few teams with 5 points. Trained Observers, Sibling Rivals, Clover Plover, Blue Ravens, and Cephalopod, who won our Cephalopod night. Trivia night. Oh, boy. All right. So congratulations to all the teams. We still have 2 more rounds to go somehow after all of that. So we're going to move right along to round 2, which is called What's in a Bird Name? So this round is all about bird names, but we're going to focus, of course, on eponymous bird names, which is kind of what, like I said, Jordan and Gabriel are here to talk about. We did have the question. I have a quick question to answer. Everyone's already putting the answer in the chat, which is, are we Googling the answers? That would be cheating in pub quiz. No, please don't Google. I trust the people who are winning, that they are not, that they're just very smart and they come here a lot and they like trivia. Don't Google the answers. I won't know, but you will feel bad later. So don't do that. Okay. So I know that we got a question in the chat a few minutes ago that we wanted to actually come on back to, and I'm trying to find it here in the chat because it was a question from Michael. Here it is. So Jordan and Gabriel, love the renaming of birds, but are there pushback from book publishers who have these books that are out and they have the name in a book that is printed? What have you been talking with them about?
Yeah, so I want to highlight there was a Jane R that actually got the answer to this question right in the chat. So wish I could give bonus points for trivia, but I can't. And I say that because, Gabriel and I really thought, yeah, like this is going to be huge, right? Like that's a huge ask. Like nothing happens or comes for free. Like this is going to have ramifications. And then in April of 2021, there was a community Congress event that Ken Kaufman and David Sibley were at, who are potentially two of the biggest well-known bird field guide authors and artists in the US and Canada. And guess what? They said, let's do it. And I'm saying it with this like attitude because it was so incredible to hear that this issue it's important to do the right thing, right? Remove all barriers. Don't let those hurdles stop us from doing the right thing. And they truly said, we make new additions all the time. Separate side but related note, bird names have changes happen regularly every year. Probably like 3 bird names change every year just due to taxonomic changes or subspecies or things like that. So your field guide is going to become outdated no matter what happens. And so why not just decide that we're going to do this really good, inclusive thing for the bird community and connect the birds and humans together in this way. So again, Gabriel and I, we thought that was going to be another hurdle we'd face, but it's not. And that's really cool.
Yeah, that's great. It's so nice. It also seems like you kind of got that support, almost not quite without having to ask for it, but kind of like they were having a conversation. It's almost like, yeah, that sounds great. Let's just reprint them.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
It's not that hard. It's nice when it's like, that's not hard. We'll just do it. So
yeah, especially because, and I can't help myself, but right now I got to say, someone else in the chat, I apologize, I don't remember their name, but said about how descriptive names are just so much more useful. It's just better communication, right? Mm-hmm. And so the eponymous name that I always go to when I share what's an eponymous name, we're talking about human names on a bird, right? Mm-hmm. Clark's nutcracker. Can you tell me what you imagine? Can you think of what that bird is? Because
it's a nutcracker from Clark County. That's what I would think, not being a birder.
Maybe during Christmas? I don't know, right? You have no idea. Let's change that bird and have better communication. Let's celebrate that bird for what it is. So, yeah.
Amazing. I agree. Well, let's get into round 2 because I'm very excited because we wrote these questions, with some of the things that you have been doing and working on in mind. And so I'm going to put the answer form for round 2 in the chat. And we're going to start with the first question, which Jordan and Gabriel, if you wouldn't mind taking it away.
Question 1. Eponymous bird names are everywhere. We've got Cassin's sparrows, Forster's tern, Swainson's hawk, the list goes on. In fact, Bird Names for Birds has compiled a list of eponymous and honorific English common bird names. In North America, including Middle America and the Caribbean, how many eponymous bird names have we identified so far? Is it 55, 100, 150, or 210?
Regardless of how many it is, which again, we will find out when the answers come up, that's a lot. Like I tried to be like, this is a sizable amount of eponymous bird names, and we're just kind of skimming the surface because it's just bird names and it's just North American bird names, right? Do you have a goal for do you want to move to a county or a country or another region next?
So it's really fascinating you say that because this is a global issue. We started in North America because that's where we're located. We're in the DC area, but South Africa has already changed 2 bird names. Australia is in the process of changing 1. Sweden changed all of them. They did exactly what we're basically asking years ago. So this isn't unheard of. This isn't as revolutionary or off the wall as I'm not a genius. I'm just trying to say, let's get with it. Let's do this. Let's celebrate birds. Let's do social justice issues and do good for people while we're at it. This isn't unheard of. We're just catching up.
Yeah, it's good to hear that there's also there's people who have done this that we can ask advice of, right? We can ask how did this go, or we can learn from their example.
Yeah, especially because South Africa changed it just about 6 months ago or so, and Australia is currently in the process. So we have both recent and Sweden from a few years ago that have done this.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, so we're going to move on to question 2, which is about one of the birds that actually has been renamed. So last summer, the American Ornithological Society accepted a proposal to rename McCown's longspur, pictured here, a grassland bird originally named after Confederate General John Porter McCown. They renamed the bird and used a hyphenated compound word, a la long term, for its name. So what is the bird's new common name? So you can give me either the word and write longspur. It did keep the word longspur at the end there, but there is a hyphenated name at the very beginning there. I hope you like this picture. I tried to pick a picture that made it look majestic. I just really like this bird is like really pretty in a lot of ways. And so, yes, I just really liked this bird. Is a really pretty one. I feel like it was a good one to have a question about because it just looks really nice there on the screen.
Well, it's really become the flagship species for this movement in a way. We had nothing to do with that, for the record. Bird Names for Birds didn't write the proposal or anything, so it's awesome to see that. Huge shout out to Robert Driver, who originally wrote the proposal in 2018, and it was rejected and then resubmitted in 2020. So there's a little bit more history there to the already history we should know about this bird. Also, just to try and address some of the questions in the chat, you'll see that eponymous names, there are a few exceptions because there's always exceptions, but the trick is to look for the apostrophe S. So McCown apostrophe S. It's a very possessive, I'm not an English lit person or anything, but it's a very possessive grammar format. It's saying it's my human blank name's bird. Again, I'm a broken record, but let's celebrate the bird. They have so much just cool facts. I mean, SciFri, awesome. Thank you for celebrating birds with us. But we don't need to be so possessive of these incredible creatures.
Yeah, agreed. Juita, so there are a few species of pelicans, right? There's no, as far as I could tell, there were no species of pelicans that have eponymous names. They really are like white, brown, descriptive names, right?
Yes, either, or like the location in which it's found. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Which is great. I mean, that helps a lot because either I'm looking at it and it's white or brown, or I'm in a place and there it is. So that's great. Amazing. All right, we're going to move on to question number 3. Jordan and Gabriel, if you wouldn't mind taking away for this one.
In their paper titled Towards Redressing Inaccurate, Offensive, and Inappropriate Common Bird Names, published just 2 weeks ago, Driver, the Robert Driver I just mentioned, and Bond write that common names are also not universally agreed upon. The IOC and NACC have different names for one species, and such discrepancies in scientific names would not be permissible under the ICZN code. So let's get one thing straight. ICZN stands for the International Commission of Zoological what?
Yes. So when I was writing this question, I was like, man, there are just a lot of acronyms here. The AOC is the American Ornithological Society, right? We talked about them before. IOC is International Ornithological
Congress.
Thank you. Yeah. I was like, I know them. But yeah, it's like there's just this is another thing that I'm not a big fan of jargon, not a huge fan of acronyms. These are all initialisms. I hate to be that person who's like, they're not poisonous, actually, they're venomous. But initialisms are letters that you actually read out. And like NASA is anyway, it doesn't matter. But anyway, yes, as I was writing this, I was like, wow, there's just so much jargon here. And this paper, actually, I didn't read too much of it, but it makes a lot of very good points. You don't really have all of these different names. Like there actually are different common names for the same bird, which is confusing. So it's like there's just so much going on here. I do see a question here from. I'm gonna pitch you guys one. A 9-year-old wants to stump either of you and is wondering, what do you call them birds that make chainsaw sounds? I'm guessing this is a joke, but maybe it's not.
Yeah.
I think somebody already got this right in the chat. Vicky Morgan said lyrebird, and that would be my answer.
Yeah. Also, first of all, Vicky, good avatar. I don't know if that is a pelican, but I like it a lot. Lyrebirds. I don't know much about lyrebirds. Do either of you know anything about these birds?
They're so cool. They can so it's funny because I thought, I have to admit, we're talking about North America, just like with bird names for birds and everything. And I was like wondering if they were talking about a bird like in their backyard. Because one thing that we get a lot, which is totally okay, but we get a lot of like, here's a fuzzy picture I took with my cell phone, or like, here's a weird recording from my cell phone. And I probably was going to be like, is that a northern mockingbird? But lyrebirds are known to imitate like chainsaws incredibly well. They're like one of the best mimics. And aren't they in Australia? I think that, yeah. They're another one where like they do this really crazy thing with their tail where they like flip it over their head and like have like a weird hairdo basically.
Cool.
And like this. Yeah. Anyway.
That's awesome. Yeah. I need to hang out with bird people.
Yeah. But we won't talk in jargon.
You've all been doing great so far. All right, we're going to move on to question number 4, which is about this really cool video that I will send all of you after this trivia night, actually, for you to watch. If you want to watch the full thing, it's very cool. And yes, I am reading this one. So a team of ecologists are collaborating with Maori experts in New Zealand to establish Maori language name conventions for native birds. Ecologist Priscilla Wehi says there's hidden knowledge in Maori names for native birds. For instance, in a recent interview, she said there are different names for birds when A, in the night and in the day, B, when they are flying and when they are landed or on the ground, C, when they are fledglings and when they are full adults, or D, in the spring and in the autumn. So there might be more here. I didn't. So one of these is true because it's what she said in the interview, which I thought was really a really amazing fact. These others might be true as well, but I don't think so. I looked up a little bit about Maori language names for birds, and some of these weren't the ones mentioned. So I've done some research, but I'm going to be honest, I'm not a Maori language expert. You can tell by the way I'm pronouncing Maori, which is the best I can do, but it's definitely not the way you actually pronounce it. But I really liked this interview. I think actually it might have been posted by someone from your community for Bird Names for Birds, and I was like, this is really cool. All right. So we are going to move on to our last question of the round. And Jordan and Gabriel, if you wouldn't mind taking away this last one.
All right. Many other individuals are calling for renaming specific birds that carry eponymous bird names. Dr. Chris Balakrishnan wrote a proposal recently to rename the Scott's oriole, pictured here, as either the golden-tailed oriole or the what oriole, inspired by where these birds often nest and feed on invertebrates from.
Yes. So I will give you one hint, which is that it is a plant. It is a kind of plant, but that's the only hint you're getting on this one. But again, I definitely picked out some of these questions because I really liked the way that the birds looked when I looked them up, and I was like, ooh, that is something I could put on a presentation, and everyone will be like, ooh, that's a pretty bird. Are there any birds that we're not talking about tonight, Jordan and Gabriel, that you're like, this is like one of my favorite birds to talk about?
Favorite birds to talk about? Oh gosh. Well, so I will share some Jordan Rudder trivia for the crowd, extra bonus trivia.
Nice.
So I wrote my college essay about woodpecker tongues because that is my favorite bird fact possibly ever. And there are woodpeckers that have eponymous names. And so for the audience, woodpecker tongues are super cool. They wrap around their head, like in their skull, like a yo-yo. And so when it's all wound up, it provides padding basically the padding of a helmet. So while they're pecking against a tree, while they're literally headbanging, it protects their brain. But then the tongue is also really long. Then it's all curled up, and they can stick it out and get the bugs at the holes that they pecked.
That is so cool.
So I really like talking about woodpeckers, and I hope that like Lewis's woodpecker gets renamed to something a lot better than Lewis.
I love it. Yes, I learned that fact recently too, and we've talked about woodpeckers on this trivia night before. People have sent me pictures of woodpeckers afterwards, so we have a lot of woodpecker love here. Amazing. Okay, so that was the end of the round, and so we're going to do what we always do. I am going to show you all of the questions. You have a minute and a half, and then we are going to show you a quick video while we score. So good luck. Submit your forms as soon as you're ready, and we'll see you in a minute and a half. All right. That is the end of round 3, everybody. So we are going to go away for a few minutes while you watch a video. This one's actually about lizards because for some reason, I guess to really hype people up for this week's trivia, but I made us watch all of our bird videos last week. We only have so many bird videos, and we watched them all last week. So now I've just got videos about other creatures and other researchers talking about the cool creatures that they have. So we're going to learn instead a little bit about some lizards for tonight while I score your round 2 points. So good luck, and we will see you in just a few minutes.
Are you ready to hear a story about sex that you're not going to believe? Humans have such a perception of reproduction that's human-centric. And when that's challenged, it really throws folks for a loop to think of something that doesn't need its own males, but crosses these species boundaries in order to obtain that reproductive material. What does a world look like with no males or clonal reproduction? What does that mean from the perspective of these cute little animals? My name is Rob Denton. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Minnesota, Morris. These salamanders are unbelievable. They're an all-female group of salamanders that can steal sperm from males of other species.
My name is Katie Greenwald. I am an associate professor at Eastern Michigan University in Ypsilanti, Michigan. If you think about it, a lineage that's all made up of females can actually grow twice as fast as a lineage that has both males and females. Numbers-wise, that lineage should eventually swamp out, outcompete, and beat a lineage that has evolved to have both males and females.
We sometimes call this the twofold cost of males. It costs to make males, and males take away resources that could be used for females. It's still relatively mysterious why sex evolved and how it's been maintained for so long across so many different species across the tree of life.
The reason that we're so interested in these unisexual ambystoma salamanders is that they are virtually able to sort of flip-flop between sexual and asexual reproduction. These various options in terms of how these offspring are produced is, as far as we know, completely globally unique, and it makes this system a really excellent one to look at when sexual reproduction is adaptive versus when asexual reproduction is adaptive.
Imagine you are one of these females. You come to a wetland in the spring, and you proceed to find a packet of sperm at that wetland that was laid there by a male of a different species. You require that sperm just to even have eggs, to produce eggs and lay them. You do so, and most of your offspring are clones of mom. They're exactly the same. They have all of the same chromosomes, all of the same genetic material. What makes these animals separate and distinct and interesting is the rate at which those other genomes sneak into the offspring.
Typical sexually reproducing organisms are getting kind of one set of their DNA, set of chromosomes from mom, one set from dad, and so all of us have two sets of chromosomes. The unisexual salamanders, we do sometimes get them with two sets, but it's much more common for them to have 3 or 4 sets, and we sometimes even find them with 5. 5 tends to be about where they max out. Ohio and Indiana are kind of the epicenter of craziness for the complex because there are actually 5 different sexual species that they can reproduce with, that they can breed with the males and then potentially incorporate those males' DNA. It's not only that they have these different potential outcomes, but that even within a single clutch of eggs where those are all siblings, all sisters, you may have actually different types of salamanders being produced.
Hello. I've been called out for calling salamanders lizards. I want to apologize to everyone involved. I'm sorry. Trivia makes me nervous, and I haven't done this in a month. So anyway, I'm going to bring back my co-hosts on. So hello, everyone. We're going to get back into the answers in just a second. But we did have a question from a few minutes ago that I wanted to actually circle back to. So Juita, about the Gunnison sage grouse, someone asked if it was if it counts as eponymous, but it doesn't. Can you tell us why?
Ooh, I feel like Jordan or Gabriel might be able to better answer this question.
Oh, sure. Sorry, I called you out, Juita, but we're going to talk more about. Sorry, like I said, salamanders, lizards. Jordan, Juita.
We're the experts on this topic, so I feel like I will do a disservice.
Yes. Please go ahead, Jordan and Gabriel. Tell us a little bit about the Gunnison sage grouse.
Gunnison sage grouse in particular are named after the county that they're found in. They've got a really limited range in Colorado. So they're named after Gunnison County. Gunnison County is probably named after a person. I don't know. But technically, Gunnison sage grouse is a toponym rather than an eponym.
Yes, that's really interesting because it calls into question what does it mean to be eponymous if the place is named after a person, right? This is why we need committees. This is why we need a lot more people actually joining in on the conversation too, which can be some of you if you are interested in joining in on the conversation. All right, so we are going to get back to the questions. So for this first one, we asked you, how many eponymous bird names has Bird Names for Birds identified so far just in North American region? The answer was C, 150. That is a lot. The current list is at bit.ly/current bird names. So you can find the full list, and perhaps if people want to add more, Jordan and Gabriel, what is the best way for them to do that?
Reach out to us either via email or social media DM. Yep. But
Awesome.
There's about 750 breeding birds in the US and Canada, just to put it in perspective proportion-wise.
Nice. All right. So that was question 1. It's a lot of names. I'm sure there will be a lot more by the end of the year that we have added to this list, which is both exciting and also a little depressing. All right, let's move on to question 2, to a kind of a win. So the McCown's longspur was renamed. Someone's asked also in the chat if longspur is also if they should just rename the whole thing because longspur is also an eponymous name. It is not. Longspur has to do with that little back foot that it's got a long spur at the back of its foot, like a little claw. So that is what that refers to. I did know that, actually. But yes, so I asked, what is this bird's new common name? And it is the thick-billed long spur, and that has to do with its beak. Is that right?
Yep.
It's got a thick bill.
Yeah.
A lot of you also, part of the reason why I wanted to do this question, besides the fact that I wanted to celebrate a win in this direction, was also to just see what other people thought by looking at it. It might be named. I liked handsome long spur, prairie hunting long spur, chestnut winged long spur. There were a lot of chestnut shouldered, chestnut winged, golden winged, red winged, brown winged. It was a lot of like color of its wing. I mentioned it, and so it was fair of you to write that. Chestnut colored long spur. I also really like that one. Macaroni crown long spur, though, was my favorite. So all very good names, better than McCown's. Personal opinion, but amazing. Okay, so that was question number 2. For question number 3, did everyone know the answer to this one by chance? Here, Jordan, Gabriel, and Juita, do you all know this one, or did I'm assuming you probably
I did not know it without like seeing the answer.
Great. We all learned something new today. The only reason I knew this one is because I had referred to the ICZN before in a previous trivia question. It means nomenclature. So many of you got it right. Some of you put names or naming, and unfortunately, I cannot give it to you. Nomenclature. Jargon, everybody. It's a fancy word for names. All right. We're going to move on to question 4. I asked you, again, I'm going to send you this video, a link to this video, so if you want to watch it yourself, it is very interesting. But in this interview with Priscilla Weahey, she mentioned that some birds have different names when they are in the spring and when they exist in the autumn, which I think is really awesome. And like she said, these names actually reveal knowledge about the birds, right? We learn things by using their native names. And I did not know that birds change so much or had different behaviors, or, were possibly, always hatched in the spring and grew up in the fall. But yeah, we have a lot to learn from these native names. All right, and that was question 4, which means we've only got one question left, and it is about this the Scott's oriole, which is a very handsome bird, but the other name besides the golden-tailed oriole that was proposed for it was the yucca oriole, which again I thought was nice, and just again goes back to renaming birds about either their behaviors or where they live or what they subsist on. They don't subsist on yucca, but they make their homes there, and they find bugs to eat there. So I think that's pretty cool. All right. Before we move on to round 3, Jordan and Gabriel, is there anything else we want to make sure that while we're talking about bird names, is there anything else we want to make sure everyone knows? We're going to keep talking, of course, about bird names, but before we get to the scores, what should people just keep in mind as they are ruminating on these eponymous bird names?
I would just say get involved. Right now, the best way is on our website. Use the hashtag on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The whole point of what we're trying to say is that birds are for everyone. So jump into the conversation. If you have ideas, if you have thoughts, if you have opinions, share them. The whole point is that we, again, want to just celebrate birds. Ultimately, talk birds with us, talk birds with other people. And maybe learn some about our history and where we came from and where we could go along the way. Huge shout out to Alex Holt and Jess McLaughlin, the 2 other people behind Bird Names for Birds. They are leading on these historical biographies. So if you want to know honestly how awful Scott's oriole was, go to our website. learn that, share it with a friend. They're doing this incredible work that's never been done before in collating these histories. And it's really highlighting how important and overdue this conversation is.
Amazing. Yes. We have some great questions in the chat, but before we get to those, I do want to show everyone their rounds from the last 2 rounds. So these are our top scoring teams. And as I did before, I'm going to very quickly read the teams in order of how they're doing so far. So we've got a few teams with 1 point so far. That is Team Cute Burbs and Prairie Schooners. Ooh, I'm seeing some repeats here, actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through my list and refresh everything, because it looks like some of these are repeats. For instance, I'm seeing Team Your Mom twice, and I'm seeing Team Cute Burbs twice, and a couple of teams. All right. So for now, these are the top scoring teams. I will be able to share all of your scores later when I'm able to tabulate a little bit more. But you're all doing great. Believe me, I'm on your side. I'm rooting for you. So we're going to move on to round 3, which is just called Bird Potpourri. It is not potpourri made from birds. It is just all kinds of questions about birds. So I just found other facts that I liked and or facts about pelicans that I couldn't fit into the first round. So we're actually going to start there. I'm going to post the form in the answer form here so that it is here in chat. And we're going to move to the first question of round 3. So Juita, if you wouldn't mind taking it away.
Okay, one more pelican fact. When they dive for fish, brown pelicans twist ever so slightly in what direction? And it's probably to cushion their trachea and esophagus from the impact when they hit the water.
First of all, amazing. Like the fact that they twist a specific way in order to like protect a specific part of their body is really cool.
Yes.
Amazing.
I'm biased though. I feel like I can't. I'm like, of course they're cool. I studied.
Do you have any idea what bird it's eating here? It's kind of hard to tell because you can just see a tail fin, but does that fin look familiar at all to you, Juita?
No, I don't do fish. Does anyone else know? Maybe someone else.
It's a big fish. Yeah. Audience, if you know what kind of fish this is just by the tail, I'll be wildly impressed. Do you often, Juita, see pelicans eating like schools of fish? Like they dive for a big bunch of fish, or do they dive for and just eat like 1 or 2 bigger fish?
Well, here in the coast of Louisiana, they tend to eat menhaden. It's their primary food source, and menhaden is found in a group. So usually it's a group.
Nice. That makes more sense, right? Because if you dive for more fish too, you're more likely to come up with at least something.
Good odds.
Yeah, exactly. All right. That was question 1. Moving on to question 2. So we reported on this recently on our radio show. Reports started in late May. Songbirds in Washington, D.C. and neighboring regions were being found dead with swollen or crusty eyes. In the days that followed, similar sightings came from many states, including Kentucky, Virginia, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. In an effort at avian social distancing, experts are suggesting removing what from outdoor areas until the cause of the mortality event is known. So these experts are saying there's something outside that we want people to refrain from having outside just for a little bit of time while we try and figure out what's happening with these birds. What is that thing? I don't know if anyone has seen these. Jordan and Gabriel, you're in the DC area. I haven't seen any of these birds in New York. I don't spend a lot of time outside, if I'm being honest. It's very hot outside right now. But have you had the bad fortune of seeing any of these birds in your area?
We haven't really seen exactly what has been described. Earlier this year, we saw a handful of dead catbirds, 3 or 4, I think, in a very short time span in an area where we'd never seen dead birds before. So it stood out to us. But that's pretty much been it, hey?
Yeah, but the thing is that to date, they're having a multi-state, multi-agency collaboration to actually research this, and we don't know what it is yet, which is why the question is so important. We have to be more vigilant and help the birds more than ever because we don't know if it's a bacteria or toxin or virus or pesticide or who knows what. And so the unknown is honestly really scary and concerning.
Yeah. So, part of the reason why I wanted to put this question on is because hopefully we have a lot of bird people here. And if they haven't heard this news for some reason, this might be where they are hearing it. So you'll find out what that thing is in just a few minutes, but trying to keep birds away from other birds as much as they can. All right. So that was question 2. And we're going to move on to question 3. Jordan and Gabriel, can you bring us home with this one?
True or false? The bird pictured is a crow, not a raven.
All right, I'm trying to bring it in as close as I possibly can so you can get a real good look at it. True or false? Is it a crow or is it a raven, essentially, is the question. So I do this a lot. I see birds that look like this, and I really vacillate wildly between calling them a crow and a raven because I'm going to show you guys a chart later that actually says, like, here's how you identify them as when you're outside on your walks. And I still don't know for sure because I live in a place and then travel to places where they both exist and I cannot tell them apart. They kind of sound alike too, I think. I don't know. I'm not very good at this. We did go to, I've been a few years ago, I went to London where they have ravens at the Tower of London. And they are much bigger than I thought they would be. I like birds a lot, but they were quite big up close. So that was disconcerting. All right. So true or false, the bird pictured is a crow, not a raven. And we are going to move on to question 4. So in December 2016, 2 peregrine falcons were seen setting up territory on the campanile at UC Berkeley. And since 2019, the Cal Falcons team have installed 2 webcams to monitor the nesting area and balcony. And we can all watch, which is really cool. A nesting pair has become somewhat famous there. The female named Annie and the male named what? And so this is both of them in the top picture here. And then the bottom picture, I believe, is Annie with one of the little fledglings, which I just think is very cute. I believe this is the fledgling that just hatched like this March or April. So very recently. I think they all have since left the nest and are living their best lives in the area, but don't really live at the actual campanile anymore. So Juita, have you ever watched these birds, or even like, do you ever just like spend time watching birds on webcams wherever?
Oh my gosh, yes, I definitely follow them on Twitter. They are so cute. And then when the chicks are all banded, people get to weigh in on what they're going to be named that year. It's so exciting.
I think that one of the fledglings was named Fauci this year.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think is great. Amazing. All right. But we're not looking for the fledglings' names. We're looking for the male of this sort of famous pair that has been around for, I think, since this 2016 time. And so, let us know what is the male's name of that pair. And then we're going to move on to the very last question. So if you wouldn't mind, Juita, you wouldn't mind closing out round 3 for us.
So SciFri Trivia has done a round about collective animal names before. So here's another one. What is a group of owls called?
This was one of my favorite rounds, by the way. I just said, like, here's a name. And you got to tell me what it is. These are some of my favorite ones. We do like 3 of the kind sometimes. I did one that was like volcanoes, teeth, and pimples. And they were like, what is the thing that's in common with those 3 things? And it was things that erupt. Because I learned that that's what it's called when teeth actually come out of your gums. It's called erupting, which I think is disconcerting. I don't love that word, but it's very descriptive. But yeah, we've done like collective animal names before. We've done who lives here before. Just here's an animal home. Who made this? So we have fun with some of the like very cool animal names, especially when it comes to like these collective names. Jamie said like a murder of crows, right? just a great collective name. I don't know who came up with that, but big fan.
Yeah, can I jump in? Because I know Juita has her hummingbirds. Do you know what a group of hummingbirds is called?
There's a term for that. No, I don't. Oh my gosh.
A charm.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
A charm. That's who.
I have a charm in my backyard in the fall. Does that count?
Yeah.
Are there different species? Okay.
Yeah. And it's perfect because they're little like jewels. Yeah.
That's
Anyway,
so
okay.
cool. No, that's awesome. That's a very good fact. I did not know that actually. So that's a good one. All right. Yes. And yes. And Ali here, a flamboyance of flamingos. Yes. There are so many good. In fact, if you'd like to put your favorite in the chat, please do, because those make me happy. So feel free. But don't put what a group of owls is called. Put that in your answer form. All right. So I am going to show you all of the questions. Here they are. I also put a little picture. It's kind of small, I know, but I did my best. There's a picture of the animal again. So if you want to try and figure out if it is a crow or a raven for that true or false one. But yes, I'm going to go look at the score sheet as the scores are coming in. We're gonna start tabulating, but you have a few minutes just to finalize your form. So submit round 3 forms as soon as you're ready. You're gonna have a minute and a half. So good luck. Have fun. So one thing I just realized, actually, some smart people in the chat have let us know that number 4 is multiple choice. Yes, I forgot to put it on the form because, again, this is my first time doing this in a while. But yes, so I did give you a hint for the name of the male of the pair. And so those 4 names were A, Grinnell, B, Grayson, C, Gotham, D, Gaius. So you should have seen a multiple choice there. Sorry that I forgot to put those on the presentation, but hopefully that helped a little bit. And I just stuck with some G names, so you had a hint at least. So all right, here's what's going to happen. You're going to watch the second half of that video we watched some time ago before we started talking about birds. I'm going to score. I'm going to do a very good job of scoring and making sure that everything is all knit and tidy. We're going to learn who won, but it's going to take a few minutes. So you're going to watch this video and we'll see you all in like 3 minutes. Have fun.
Salamanders being produced.
It's amazing that they have this scenario of having multiple genomes, but I think what puts it into perspective is how distantly related these species are that are sharing this genetic information. If we were to take a sample of my blood and I had a set of chromosomes from my mother, from my father, but in addition, a whole set from a gorilla, from an orangutan, from a chimpanzee. That's the type of evolutionary divergence between these salamanders, but I would be a fully functioning, normal human being.
We have a salamander in here.
No.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Oh
Oh, buddy. What we're setting up here are breeding experiments where we put the unisexual females in with different types of males, and then we genotype the parents and the offspring to see when the male DNA makes it in. So far what we've been looking at is whether the female has any preference for a male that's from her same pond versus a male that's from a more distant pond. And over the last couple of years, we've been running these experiments and are so far seeing a pattern where the females are more likely to include the male's DNA if he's from the same pond that she is versus a pond on the other side of the reserve. You could imagine that if you are a unisexual with a lot of blue-spotted DNA and you end up in a pond with a lot of Jefferson salamanders, that's probably a good place to be a Jefferson salamander. And so as that female, are you more likely then to add some of those Jefferson's genes to your offspring, in which case you're able to potentially grab a whole locally adapted genome and stick it right into your offspring without splitting it in half.
So I'm working to establish a collection of these animals that captures their whole diversity across their range, from Kentucky to Maine to Minnesota to Canada. Some of these people who work for state agencies or wildlife management areas sample these animals every year, help them cross the road, protect them, educate the public about these animals without ever really knowing what they have. How many genomes does it have and where do they come from? And so this is a way that we can answer some of those questions and also ask more basic research questions about their evolution, for instance. The scenario of having these multiple genomes produces some really confusing results. So for example, we have studies that show that they can regenerate their tissues faster than sexual species. At the same time, there are other tests, such as locomotor endurance, where they perform really poorly. They're very successful. Across their range, they're often abundant. Sometimes they can outnumber the sexual species by 2 to 1, 3 to 1 at these wetlands. So we know they're doing well. We know they've been around for a really long time, but it's really difficult to explain why that is.
These salamanders really are taking advantage of the system, right? They're all female, so they don't bear that cost of producing males, but they're occasionally incorporating DNA from other species. In some ways, it seems like this potentially totally unique evolutionary win-win, which might ultimately let us learn a little bit more about the evolution and maintenance of sexual reproduction.
They defy all boundaries of what we know a species is. So it raises a lot of interesting questions about what do we care to conserve. An individual that we know is a blue-spotted salamander or their genetic legacy. People argue about what a species is, and these animals are so far from that argument that it's not even worth having it.
All right, so now you know about salamanders. So along with all the bird knowledge we have, now we have salamander, not lizard knowledge. All right. Amazing. So we're going to move right along to the answers because as fun as this has been, y'all, we've been talking so much about birds that we are way over time, and I don't want to keep you too much longer than I promised we would go. So let's get on to the answers. So brown pelicans twist in a specific direction. That direction is left. If you wrote counterclockwise, I also gave it to you. But yeah, they twist to the left, and that's because we think, right, Juita, that their trachea and esophagus are sort of on the left side. Are they protecting it with the rest of their body, or is they turning away?
Side. Yeah, the trachea and the esophagus is on the right side, so they turn like slightly left.
That's so interesting. I don't know. Again, I don't know too much about pelicans, and I know that you are really studying sort of like the colonies and not so much their their evolutionary history. But I wonder if like the ones that twisted left and had tracheas on the right millions of years ago are the ones that evolved to be the ones that are here with us now.
Totally possible. Yeah.
The world will never know. We'll have an evolutionary biologist on here at one point, and they'll tell us if that's true. Amazing. And Eileen very smartly is asking, how about the southern hemisphere? Yeah, I think they still twist in the same direction. They still twist counterclockwise. All right, so here we go. Question 2 was about this mortality event. Everyone got this one right because either you are in the know or you were listening to Science Friday a few weeks ago when we talked about this story. Bird feeders, yes. So if you said bird feeders or if you said bird baths, I also took bird baths. But it's a really troubling story, and it's really worrisome. So hopefully we'll be learning more about it, and we'll still be reporting about it as things happen. But yeah, we don't really know what's going on now. So, but if you do live in these areas and you see a bird that has died, that has these telltale signs of these crusty eyes, if you live in New Jersey, if you live in DC, there are different agencies that are gathering information. Unfortunately, there's not one place that is doing that. And so you can find out more at our website, but you can also just look online and find out. There's a lot of stories about this. So if you forget to look on Science Friday's website, that's okay. And you can find out where you can actually report the sightings of these birds. All right. True or false? Crow or raven? This is a classic question. I think it's really hard to tell the difference if you don't know. However, it's true. That was a raven. I'm sorry, that was a crow. Excuse me, please. It was a crow. And our friend Rosemary Moscow over at Bird and Moon made this pretty little story about how to tell the difference between a raven and a crow. So I've looked at this many times and I still can't do it. I don't know if you all see crows and ravens in your everyday life and are just like, that's just a blackbird to me, but that's what I do. Awesome. All right. So question 4, I asked you with a multiple choice question about what the name of this bird was. His name was Grinnell. Yeah. So he's got I actually don't remember what he is named after. I like the name Annie and I like the name Grinnell. Juita, have you been watching them lately? Besides the birds that have hatched recently, is there any other exciting news with Annie and Grinnell?
I haven't seen the Twitter page lately. Like after the chicks fledged, I kind of stopped checking on a daily basis.
Yeah. Everything kind of calms down. Yeah. I think it was like you said, like April or May, I think they hatched, and they've just been chilling since then. So very nice. All right. So that was question 4. Our last question of the round was about a group of owls. They're called a parliament. And I am not picky about spelling here. So I did not spell this right when I went to go make this trivia question. And so if you wrote parliament in some way, you got it right. So, okay. So that was the round. Before we get to the winners of tonight's trivia night, I want to make some space. So again, we've been talking about it all night, but I want people to find you online if they are interested in following you or learning more about your work. Jordan and Gabriel from Bird Names for Birds. These are the, you can find them on Twitter and on Instagram at this handle. You can go to their website. Jordan and Gabriel, is there anything else you want people to know about Bird Names for Birds before we depart for tonight's game?
Just, again, jump in, let us know, get involved with the conversation, and thanks so much for being here, and thanks so much for listening to us.
Awesome. Amazing. And Juita, that is your website. That is your Twitter handle. I can say from my personal experience, you are very fun to follow on Twitter. Are you still in your field season right now, or are you back in the lab?
My field season just ended about a week ago. So that was the last time I get to go hang out with Dinosaur Floofs forever.
Amazing. Well, is there anything else you want people to know before, again, we take a breather and say goodbye for tonight?
Thank you so much for having me. If you want to, please go support Bird Names for Birds. They are doing amazing work over there.
Amazing. Awesome. All right. So, and as per usual, what we always say is that if you had fun tonight, this is the place you can do it. You can actually put some money in our tip jar. part of the reason that I was able to invite our wonderful guests tonight is because of your support. And so if you are able, if you have, listen, it doesn't matter how much you give. If you're able to give $1 per player, more than that, anything is appreciated, because it actually matters more how many people donate and less how much they donate. So if you have a little bit of something, we would love for you to swing it our way. But if you're not able to contribute, that's totally fine. A way you can do for free is you can click subscribe, and you can click the little bell that comes up next to the subscribe button, and that will let you know when we are putting out new videos and when we are playing trivia nights. So keep that in mind, because the next time we are doing trivia is in a month. Actually, we're still taking a little bit of a summer slowdown. We're not doing weekly right now. And so our next trivia night is going to be on August 25th, when Ira Flato himself is going to be co-hosting with me. So I will be here with Science Friday host himself, Ira. He will be joining us. I'm very excited. It is almost as good as having you three all here with me tonight. So thank you again for being here. It really has been a wonderful pleasure. And so before I tell you who won, here's the thing about who won. I can't tell you because, unfortunately, we have a tiebreaker. So 2 teams came in first place, are tied for first place right now. And so hopefully they are both here and they are ready to play our tiebreaker. So we did prepare a tiebreaker question for tonight. And so our friends, let me just get the tiebreaker teams up here. Okay, so the 2 teams that are tied for first place with 14 points, y'all, they got 1 question wrong each. I actually think they might have gotten the same question wrong. So it was just, they were tied throughout, is the Prairie Longspurs and the Chickadees. So those are the 2 teams that are playing for our tiebreaker tonight. So there is the form for the tiebreaker. So it's just those 2 who are going to be playing. And let me just get my question up here. Okay. So again, that's the Prairie Longspurs and the Chickadees. You are the 2 teams that are playing. You have 14 points. I'm going to put everyone's score up, by the way, if you are on our email list. I will send you all of the scores later tonight, probably tomorrow. But we're going to play a quick tiebreaker. So let me just, I'm trying to prepare everything. So give me 1 second. All right. So our tiebreaker question, what's going to happen is that, so Juita, you have the question and you're going to read it. What's going to happen is that I am going to put a picture up after you read it, but you are going to read the full question for everyone. And then, I'm sorry, I know there's a lot of clicking happening over here, but everything is happening so fast. So Juita is going to read our tiebreaker question, and then I'm going to put a picture up, and then that picture is going to be the way you're going to start actually answering. And so Juita, if you wouldn't mind reading our tiebreaker question.
Okay, cool. So a picture is going to show up, and we're asking you to name the country named in its common name. For instance, the Canada Jay. The team that correctly names the country in this bird's common name, or the closest country as the crow flies, first wins.
Okay, so if you're close, if you're geographically close, that's who's going to win. So if you don't know the exact country, say a country that is closest, and then I will go on maps and see how close it is to the actual country that it is. All right, teams, I am going to show the picture in 3, 2, 1, go. Here's the bird. What is the name of the country that is in this bird's common name? Go. This is the waiting music. It's very suspenseful. It's really hard. This is the hardest part about the tiebreaker, is that I have to be entertaining for 20 seconds while everyone puts their word in. All right. You got 5 more seconds. Come on. Put your answers in. Oh, we've got Hey, you know what? I think we actually have winners. All right, they answered first and they answered correctly. So it looks like the Prairie Longspurs have won tonight's trivia night. Congratulations. The correct answer is that this is a Peruvian pelican. It's very fancy, and it is from Peru, or at least it lives nearby Peru. And so it was named. Yeah, and so it was named. It's another toponym. It is named after the place that it was found. So, hey, congratulations! That was fantastic. Congratulations to the Prairie Longspurs. Again, I'm going to email you a picture of the plant because I've been so busy that I didn't get a chance to grab one. But I'm also going to send you all of these fun sticker things and some other stuff that I didn't talk about that is only for you. So congratulations. Thank you all again so much for being here, to the audience for being here. Jordan and Gabriel, thank you so much for being here to talk a little bit about bird names for birds. And Juita, of course, thank you so much. I am fully converted to being a full-blown, just super fan of these amazing birds. Pelicans are really cool. And so I hope everyone feels inspired to either become a birder or to get into birding or do whatever you can to get it to just like love birds a little bit. So before we leave, actually, Juita, like, what is your advice for people who are interested in birding but don't know where to start?
Just go outside. Birds are everywhere in the city, like at your park. You probably haven't even noticed them. Like, because you just got to go and look. I'm sure you'll find them.
Jordan, Gabriel, any additional advice?
She said it best. Totally support Juita. She's amazing.
Yes, get outside in any way you can, right? That is the best way to do it. I mean, if you just have windows to look outside, or if you've got a roof like me, that is the way I spend a lot of my outside time. So amazing. All right. Have a wonderful night, everyone. We will see you again in a month for trivia again. Until then, I am Diana. Have a wonderful evening. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.